Hello, everyone. It's time for the Expendable Show, and I'm your host, the Expendable. So today we're gonna try to. I get told that I come out really strong on my show, that I yell in the mic and I sound angry. So I'm gonna tone it down just a notch, a bit. So we're gonna discuss a lot of stuff today. There is a lot on the agenda. I want to make sure that some of these misconceptions that are happening out there are cleared up and everyone understands what is going on, because there's a lot of stuff going on, not only in the United States with the Trump administration, but also going on in the state of Kentucky. So we're going to talk about a lot of these things. The Epstein stuff came out. So let's get down to business. If you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. And this episode is brought to you by Gatsby Trading Solutions. If you need to trade something, let me know. I'll trade it. Or I'll just take your money. Bonnie, what's up? Hey, Jessica. Bonnie, I'm expecting Rachel to jump in here like any minute. You guys are like best friends. Also, don't forget, we are booking events for Gary Michaels in his Bikes, Babes, and Belly Laughs tour. Gary Michaels originally from Paris, Kentucky. So he's a great guy. He's hilarious. He's a hypnotist. That's funny. I walked around with this guy for a day. He's hilarious and he's good. But he's touring with the infamous America's Funniest Biker, Russ Nagel, and Phil Donlin from the show Chicago Fire. There's Rachel. I knew she'd be there. I talked to her today. She told me she was going to be there. So, actually, Bonnie, I'll send you a message because I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Lexington here pretty soon. So I'll send you I'll send you a link. He just sent me a flyer and I forgot what I did with it. So let's go through our statistics real quick. Gas prices average are Jeez, I gotta turn my sound off. Gas prices, according to AAA, are at $3.07 a gallon. Hey, it's the infamous Rick Kaufman. Thanks for jumping in there, Rick. We're gonna get down and dirty here in a little bit. It's about to get real. Mortgage rates still sitting at 6.125. Jerome Powell's completely worthless like normal. Trump's approval rating, he keeps dropping a little bit, but that's because of all the stupidity that's going on right now. It's not really his fault. He's doing everything he can. But he's at 42.3%. The Dow Jones closed over 47,000. I don't know. Wait, today's Sunday. It closed at $47,147.48. So we're up in a good spot there. Democrat Party approval rating is a whopping 33.6%. That's the socialism for you. And congressional Democrats are still at 19%. So there you go. Statistics are done. So I've been watching a lot of the American news outlets lately. I've kind of taken a break from international news, but we've got so many fires going on in the United States that I thought, I should probably pay attention a little bit to this stuff because it's starting to get a little iffy. So Trump, one of the big digs that I had on Trump in his campaign was when he was asked about his health insurance plan. I thought he didn't sound like he was very confident in his health insurance plan. So I've been digging to see what he's looking at trying to do now for insurance. So there is kind of a tentative plan that he's working on. Now, this isn't the final product, but these are some ideas that the Trump administration are throwing out to fix our insurance issues. So Donald Trump's current health insurance proposal centers on redirecting Affordable Care Act subsidies away from the insurance companies. So he wants to take that money, take it away from the insurance companies, and give it directly to individuals like us, often through tax-advantaged health savings accounts. So it'd be like an HSA, if any of you have ever had one of those. So it's going to be money put into account for us to use later. He's branded the idea Trump Care, and he's emphasized that it should be seen as an alternative to Obamacare, which we all know is completely worthless. So some of the core elements of this plan, I'm going to map them out as easy as I can. I know talking about healthcare is boring. I hate health insurance conversations, but a lot of people are confused as to what is going on, so I'm trying to help people understand. So the direct subsidies are going to go to the individuals. So like we said, it's going to be an HSA. Trump argues that his approach would make people feel like entrepreneurs, negotiating their own coverage and potentially saving money. Now, I like that idea, but I have concerns because there's a lot of people out there that don't understand healthcare. They don't understand how health coverage works, and they definitely are not going to be able to negotiate their own healthcare prices. So I'm going to be interested to see what he comes up with to kind of combat that. The health policy analysts warn that Trump's plan lacks detail and could lead to higher costs if insurers raise premiums or if subsidies don't adequately cover expenses. So that there's still some things he's got to work out with this. It's not like I said, it's not a finished product, but it is something that he's like actively working on. We should have a new healthcare plan here sometime in the near future. So when you compare Obamacare to Trump's proposal, obviously, Obamacare, the subsidies are paid to the insurance companies where Trump's are paid to an HSA. The marketplace targets are structured in Obamacare. They're structured exchanges with standardized plans where Trump's is for the open market. The individuals will negotiate their coverage. So Obamacare was more like lean on the government, and Trump's is lean on yourself, basically is what it comes down to. So Obamacare includes essential health benefits and coverage rules, where Trump's plan details are kind of unclear at this point, and the protections are not addressed as of yet. Come on, Rachel, do HR people really know what they're talking about? I never listened to HR, ever. Now I'm my own HR. I discipline myself. Or I pay myself or pick my own healthcare. So it all works out for me. So Donald Trump's affordability plan in late 2025 focuses on lowering household costs through a mix of direct payments, housing reforms, energy price reductions, and consumer protections. His most headline-grabbing proposal is a new 50-year. This is his affordability plan. We've jumped away from healthcare. We're in affordability. So he's talking about this 50-year mortgage option. And at first, I didn't like the idea, but I'm going to discuss why I do now like the idea. But the 50-year mortgage is going to reduce monthly housing payments alongside tariff-funded rebate checks and targeted interventions in food and drug prices. Now, when you think of this 50-year plan, I'm guessing it's going to be how it is today, where you can do a 15-year loan, a 30-year loan, or now adding a 50-year. At first, I was like, man, that's stupid. Why would anybody do that? But the reason why I like this idea is because the affordability issue isn't a long-term problem solve. So adding a 50-year mortgage is just a stall tactic, if you want to say that. So it's Trump's way of saying, hey, let's do a 50-year mortgage because I can't fix the housing market overnight. So let's throw this 50 years. It's going to knock $200 to $300 off of your mortgage. It's going to free up some money space so you can breathe a little bit. I like that for that purpose. Now, obviously, if anybody's ever bought a house before, you're not locked into this loan until the end of time. If you get into you utilize the savings that you're going to get from the 50-year loan, and yes, you're going to be paying a lot on interest rates. However, if you get 10 years down the road and you're like, okay, I've got 40 years left on this, I don't want to pay for 40 years. So I'm going to go refinance this into a 30-year loan. And so you're going to refinance the rest into a 30-year loan. Automatically, you're going to knock 10 years off of the original loan. So or you could do a 15, you knock a lot of years off. So this is basically a building block for people who are struggling now. It's a fast fix to right now. So therefore, I have changed my position from not liking it to now I like it, because I understand now what he's trying to do with it. He's trying to give people a break so they can breathe a little bit and not be in these $2,000 a month mortgages. At least until Jerome Powell lowers the interest rates and the housing market. I don't think the housing market's ever going to go back to what it was. I think where we're at right now in the housing market, that's where we're going to be. That's the new expectation. The Overton window has moved, and now we're stuck there until the next giant crisis, and then they move it on us again. So that's where we're at. So let's go for example. If you take out a $300,000 home mortgage at 5% interest, it would cost you $1,294 a month with a 50-year loan versus $1,530 for a 30-year loan. Example, not exact, but it's an example. So you're looking at saving money. That I'd rather pay $1,200 than pay $1,500. And whenever you get your money right down the road, you can refinance it on better terms. So that's the good thing about this, is it's going to allow you breathing room to get it, to get your finances together. So total interest nearly doubles over the lifetime of the loan, and equity builds much more slowly. That's your financial experts trying to scare everybody that Trump's ideas are stupid. But really, it's actually kind of genius. Current Dodd-Frank rules prohibit federal backing of mortgages longer than 30 years. So that's a legal hurdle that they've got to get through yet. So new legislation or regulatory workarounds are going to be required. So they're going to have to pass, an emergency bill or some kind of like something adding the 50-year loan to bank lending, which I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. I mean, of course, anything Trump does, the Democrats are going to shoot it down anyway. So the tariff dividend checks. So Trump's been throwing around this $2,000 dividend check. He's proposed sending $2,000 to low and middle income Americans funded by the new tariff revenues. A lot of people are like, well, why don't you stick that back into the economy? Well, technically you are, because when you cut checks to people, they catch up on their bills. They go buy flat screen TVs. They do all kinds of dumb shit with their $2,000. So that money is going back into the economy. So obviously, when you do a stimulus, it's called a stimulus to stimulate the economy. That's exactly what this is going to do. Something's going to get paid with it, and it's going to stimulate certain sectors of the economy. So SNAP benefits. So his administration has faced criticism for delays in restoring food assistance after the government shutdown. It's affected 42 million Americans. What I heard today, he is going to make everybody reapply for SNAP. I actually don't have a problem with that. Have everybody go back through the system. Let's get all the data right. There's a lot of people in there that weren't supposed to be on there. So I think just to redo the whole SNAP program, everybody go back up, reapply, get it done. I know it's going to hinder people for a little bit, but I think it should be done so we know if there's people that don't need to get it or have been getting it for 5 years or whatever. So food and consumer costs, that's a big one right now that the Democrats are hammering Republicans on right now. Now, as we know, the stock market's doing well. We are hitting record highs, but we're not seeing, the cost of eggs exponentially went down, but the Democrats don't want to talk about eggs no more. They want to talk about meat. So they're hyper focusing on meat. And so Trump has launched an investigation into the meat packing companies. He directed the Department of Justice to probe whether meat companies are colluding to raise the beef prices. Egg prices. So the White House touts falling egg prices. They've been down 50% since January. So the process is working, but he's got to look into some of these sectors that haven't adjusted to the economy and to the markets. So hopefully he finds that there's some price gouging that's been happening in the meat business. I know I dread going to the grocery store and buying any kind of meat right now. It's like, man, one is like my week's worth of meat is like spent up in 2 days. It's crazy. So health and drug costs. So weight loss drugs. Trump announced deals with pharmaceutical companies to lower prices of popular GLP-1 weight loss medications. I don't know if Ozempic falls in that category. I'm guessing it does since they've kind of added the GLP-1 to that, but don't quote me on that. I'm not for sure. He has suggested redirecting Affordable Care Act subsidies directly to individuals, letting them purchase insurance and or fund HSAs. We know that gas prices have gone down a lot since Trump's taken office. So we're seeing eggs and gas prices. They get the meat down, and some of the other grocery items will start to go down. So Trump's affordability plan is multi-pronged. With the 50-year mortgages, the direct cash relief, consumer protection on food and drug prices, and energy deregulation, which is hopefully for you, those of you in Eastern Kentucky, that's going to work out for you. That they'll get the coal mines back up, and they'll get all the deregulations reversed, and we can start to prosper. Because we know that Eastern Kentucky is getting heavily hammered with energy prices right now. It's one of the biggest things that I get hit up on my TikTok channel about, and there's not really anything that I can do about it. I can make 1,000 videos on it, but AEP, which monopolizes Eastern Kentucky, they don't care about little old me. They're just going to keep doing it. And then they went and asked for a 15% increase. You're seeing you should see the energy bills that I've had emailed to me. They're ridiculous. We're talking like $600-700 a month energy bills for a small family. Like, it's insane. Like, I would probably just put one of my kids on like an exercise bike and just have them pedal to generate electricity. Like, hey, Jimmy, get on there. Sarah's going to get on after you're done. Just let them pedal the energy out. But it's not funny, but they need to do something about it. So let's talk next about the Epstein files. I wish it was that easy, Jessica, but it's not going to be that easy. If it was an easy political tool, as far as just hey, calling AEP up and going, hey man, can you guys just lower the energy prices for me? I'm trying to get reelected. If it was that easy, Andy Bashir would have done it already. Like, that guy is all about easy pickings. So it's a little more complicated than that. And Kentucky was sitting at about 90% of their energy came from the coal industry. Eastern Kentucky was. So when Biden came in and deregulated when he came in and put all these restrictions and stuff on the coal industry, that screwed you guys your energy economy up. And then they had to direct it from somewhere else. So hopefully once they get the coal mines back up and running, that will help. And plus, we are heavily behind in coal mining compared to China. China is out mining us really bad right now. So obviously we don't want to lose to anything, especially to China. So Trump's made it a personal vendetta to produce more coal than China. So there are silver linings coming. So anyway, the Epstein files, we'll jump into that because there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of AI doctoring of documents that's happening. So we're going to get into the facts. So several sets of materials were released by the House Oversight Committee members in mid-November of 2025, which was this past week, Democrats published a small batch of emails referencing Donald Trump, and Republicans followed with more than 20,000 pages from the Epstein estate, including spreadsheets, correspondence, and related artifacts. These releases were presented as part of a committee's investigation and derived from state subpoenas, giving them a formal provenance within a congressional process. Now, we're still not going to get the grand jury information. Everything that they provided was from the oversight investigation. So there's still a bunch of stuff sitting with that judge, that Democrat judge, mind you, that won't release anything. But he's partly right, because grand jury information is sealed. It's going to take an act of God to let it out. And a lot of these idiots don't understand that. Anyway, so the committee states the larger trove came from the Epstein estate in response to subpoenas, which supports authenticity of origin, though document by document authentication has not been fully adjudicated publicly. So there's still some work yet to do on it, but some of the information is legit. Some emails include Epstein's statements about Trump knowing about the girls and spending time with the victim, but they redacted the victim's name, which we now know is Virginia Guthrie, who unalived herself mysteriously, which I'm not real sure. I believe that she killed herself. I forgot I'm not on TikTok. I don't have to say unalive. I can actually say the real words. But so we all know, because Virginia Guthrie released a book right before she died, and she completely threw out the theory that Trump was involved. She said Donald Trump never did anything to me. He was very professional, very kind to me. So this part of it is completely moot, and the left redacted her name because they knew that she had already put the book out and basically, told the truth about Donald Trump. So major outlets have reported on the releases, but typically with caution about anonymous sourcing and limits to independent verification and details. Fact checkers have confirmed certain process facts, while noting unresolved specifics, which is amazing that the media is finally not just reporting on anonymous tips, because that's what they usually do, and it ends up making an ass out of themselves. So there's still a push going on to release all of it. I think they should just go ahead. I have a couple theories as to why they're fighting it, and we'll get to that here in a second. So there's a bipartisan discharge petition reached 218 signatures to force a House vote compelling the Department of Justice to release the complete Epstein case files within 30 days. That vote process is set in motion, but leadership resistance and procedural timing mean full public release is not guaranteed yet. The committee continues staged releases while the broader transparency vote proceeds. Now, there is an email circulating that has been debunked, but your lefties are riding with it still. And I want to make it clear that it has been officially been confirmed that it's been AI doctored. So the email is a text only. It lacks metadata and circulates primarily on fringe forums and social media screenshots. Those are common signs of a fabricated smear. Independent fact-checking organizations have already flagged similar viral claims as false and defamatory, which they have to be careful because Trump keeps winning defamation lawsuits against the media, so they have to kind of walk on eggshells when it comes to that, because they know Trump will sue them. So my theory, and I'm just going to run through some information that it could be factual, it could be circumstantial, it could be just an opinion, but we'll leave it as it is. So Trump has doubled down on strong support for Israel, including military aid and diplomatic backing. This aligns with traditional GOP foreign policy hawks and evangelical voters. So the pro-Israel Republicans, which are basically, for the most part, the evangelicals, the defense hawks, and establishment figures, they see unwavering support as non-negotiable. Now, there's a reason why I'm following up Israel with the Epstein files. I think a lot of people kind of already have an idea of what I'm talking about. So the America First Republicans, which would be people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, they argue that Trump is prioritizing foreign affairs over domestic affordability, questioning whether America First still means putting U.S. families ahead of foreign commitments. Israel has become a litmus test of sorts. Loyalty to Trump's foreign policy versus loyalty to populist demands for foreign folk or for domestic focus. There's an Israel aspect of this. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was having issues with Israel. So those diehard Charlie Kirk people, even though Thomas Massie was not a diehard Charlie Kirk person, some of these things that they don't like about Israel are starting to come to the forefront. And President Trump I believe he has flipped the script on Israel. Even though it looks like he's supporting Israel, I think he's extorting Israel now, because I believe that Israel's been extorting us for all these years. But I think Donald Trump's saying, hey, I will run all the information that we have on you, because we got the Epstein list and half of y'all are on it. So that's what I think is happening. Now, Kirk wasn't just a conservative activist. He was a bridge figure between grassroots MAGA and MAGA youth and Trump's political machine. His sudden death left a vacuum in the movement. So things are changing and people are upset. So I still think we're still in the heat of Charlie Kirk's death. So I think after a while these things will die down. I still think we need to pay very close attention to Israel and make sure that they're following all the rules. What's up, G bro? So some believe Kirk's legacy should be folded into Trump's agenda, keeping Turning Point USA aligned with Trump's leadership. Others see Kirk's death as a symbolic of a generational shift where younger activists want independence from Trump, focusing on transparency, which would come across with the Epstein files, and affordability and anti-corruption, rather than the personality politics, which I think the majority of Americans are tired of personality politics. I am. It's annoying. So his absence removed a unifying voice, allowing factionalism to harden. And that's true. So Israel represents a foreign policy divide. It's there. It's global commitments versus domestic populism. We struggle with that when it comes to Israel, because it seems like they always need something. And so we always have to drop what we're doing because they're our greatest ally. And they play that card all the time. So the GOP has an internal struggle, and it isn't just about personalities. It's about the identity of the GOP moving forward. Is this still Trump's vehicle? Is he still running the GOP? I have a tough time with that, because I didn't see Trump do a lot of campaigning. And it's not his job to campaign for every single struggling gubernatorial candidate or Senate or House candidate. It's not his job. The GOP is supposed to put together solid campaigns. It's the same thing with the Democrats. It's their job to put together, the DNC is supposed to put together solid campaigns. We did not in this last election. We lost big time. Now, were they in dominant blue areas? Most of them were. However, I didn't see the effort. Just in some of the purple areas here in Georgia that were up, the GOP candidates got destroyed. And so that makes me wonder, is our GOP leadership actually doing anything again? Are we back to the old way before Lara Trump took over? Then Lara Trump leaves, and now we're back to stupidity again. So I think we have a real leadership problem at the higher echelons of the GOP. I'm not sold on them. I don't give them money. I actually gave Victor Hill $50 the other day. He's a Democrat, but that's my buddy, so I had to give him some money. But the Republicans that I come across, most of them come across as elitist, and I don't like that. It's like, I really, really like Mike Collins. I like his platform and everything, but when you're not in front of his face, he comes across as an elitist, and so I have a tough time with that. We've got to get away from that. We've got to get away from that that insanity, that old school Republican, country money, the old money type of mentality. That's not going to work anymore. Because what we've done is we've just elevated the good old boys through the Trump ranks, and they're taking advantage of it. It's time for them to step aside. That's what I think. And things have to improve. Hopefully they do. We're going to get into, real quick, I'm going to cover, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a giant riot going on down in Mexico. The people of Mexico are rising up against the president, Claudia Sheinbaum, the German Mexican president. And it's funny because our media is not covering it, but it's bad. Like 40 some cops got hurt the other day. What this is over is Claudia Sheinbaum refuses to fix the cartels. They had a mayor get assassinated just the other day, 2 days ago. And so everybody's there. They're mad. The Mexican people are mad because you can't do anything without getting assassinated. So this mayor, Carlos Manzo, he was an anti-crime activist. He was assassinated at a public event earlier this month. Who does that sound like? He was shot 7 times after condemning Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum for her alleged lack of effort in combating cartels. I think you're going to see more resistance. I think the Mexican people are tired of the cartels. Donald Trump has offered to go in there and wipe out the cartels. He could do it with probably 3 drones, and we would have no cartel problem. But Claudia Sheinbaum won't let him. She keeps saying, oh, we can't violate the sovereignty of Mexico. But then behind her, she's got her citizens going, let Trump come in and wipe the cartels out. So I'm going to be paying a close eye on what's happening down in Mexico. Normally I wouldn't care, but they're our neighbors, so I got to care. Now, we're going to get into the Kentucky stuff now because I know that's what the majority of my people are here for. There's a lot of stuff to cover on Kentucky. So the first thing I want to do is give a shout out to, we had a little meeting, and I'm going to post it on here, but I'm not going to do anything on TikTok with it because everybody seems to keep tabs on who I talk to, ironically. So we had a meeting, and I'm down here if you look at, down at below, there's like a laptop or a tablet. I was there virtually, but these 3 women in Pike County are some of the most courageous women that I've ever come across. From left to right, I think is what you guys will see. So it's Teresa Blackburn. You have Alice Hurley, Nicole Hidalgo, and Becky Smith. So these four ladies all have except for Nicole Hidalgo. These four ladies are all heavily involved in Pike County. If you guys understood, the audience out there understood how dangerous this is, how many dead bodies we've covered in that county, and how many killers are in that county, you would have a great appreciation for these ladies. Teresa Blackburn, her son Chad, is currently sitting on a murder case because he got into a car accident and actually, Judge Robbie Wright's mom pulled out in front of him and he hit her. And they're going to punish him. They're trying to throw the book at this guy because Robbie Wright's mom, who had drugs in her system, pulled out in front of him. The next lady, Alice Hurley, we talk about her son Bacon a lot. Bacon was murdered by Paul Coleman. And she goes toe to toe with Paul Coleman all the time. She's got a pair, I'll tell you that. She's not afraid. Becky, her son is going through, she's the one on the right. Her son's going through a case where her son goes into a convenience store with his girlfriend. The cashier says something racist to his girlfriend because she's, from my understanding, she's a part white and part black. So they leave the store. Well, it was eating her son up here. Like he felt like he needed to say something. So he goes up to the drive-through window, knocks on the window. The guy opens up the door and her son goes in there for 30 some seconds, whoops this guy's ass, and then leaves. They charged him with so many ridiculous charges, aggravated robbery, like for a fight, for a simple assault. And this is what they do. This is what Pike County does. And Nicole Hidalgo, she's attacked by these people all the time. She's gang stalked. They harass her. And these four ladies, they hang in there and they stick it out. And so I support them every chance I get. If I see any of them getting picked on, I jump right in. I'm not going to let them go in there by themselves. So this is a big thing. And so I wanted to give my shout out to them for standing in the fire, even though it's hot. They're very strong women. They're determined. I wouldn't want to meet any of them in a back alley. I'm going to get whooped on. I'm going to tell you that. So there they are. Good job, ladies. So next on the list, we have a grand jury that's convening for the Paul Coleman murdering of Brandon Bacon Hurley. So I'm going to throw a picture of what Brandon Bacon looks like up here. Brandon Bacon Hurley, that's him with his 3 daughters. Brandon Bacon Hurley was shot and killed by Paul Coleman in Pike County. Great father. Everybody in this community loved this guy. I have not heard one person say anything bad about him other than the killer. The family, I have gotten to know his mom and dad, and they're great people, and I love them to death. And we're hopefully this week, when the grand jury convenes, hopefully we can take a step towards getting closure for Bacon's daughters. So there he is, Brandon Bacon Hurley. Good guy. So next, we're going to cover the case that's getting hot. This case is getting red hot right now. So I just before I started was on the phone with with Jimmy Lee Howard's mother. And she's great too. And this is one of my favorite pictures of Jimmy Lee because this is exactly the type of guy he was. With his black hat, his cowboy hat, and his black coat. Listen, this guy. So if you don't know anything about Kentucky, it's full of wild horses, especially up in the hollers, up in the mountains and the hills. Jimmy Lee took care of all of those wild horses that were anywhere near his property. If they would get on the road, he'd run down to the road and get them off the road. He kept them safe. He fed them. He took care of them out of his own pocket. And he loved his property. He loved the animals. It's really crazy because I was talking to his mom, and we've been talking a lot lately. She's fired up. Things are getting heated, and this happened in Martin County, Kentucky. And so, for those of you who are not familiar with this case, it's the 4th of July, and Jimmy Lee is on his property with his buddy Austin Harless. So Jimmy Lee, they're drinking, having a good time. From my understanding, Austin's wanting to leave, and he's been drinking. Jimmy Lee says, "You're not going nowhere, man. You've been drinking." And so Jimmy Lee takes a gun out, apparently, goes outside, shoots off a round or two. It's the 4th of July. If you go outside in the 4th of July and anywhere in metro Atlanta, you're going to think that there's a giant gang war going on. Everybody's shooting on the 4th. Actually, they do it on every holiday. Probably for Thanksgiving next week, they're going to be outside shooting something. So, and plus, you're out in the middle of nowhere in a holler. If you don't hear gunshots, you might be concerned. It's a heavily wooded area. People hunt, and so Austin calls 911. It says, "I'm being held hostage." KSP goes out there, which for those of you who don't know is Kentucky State Police. They go out there, and which is KSP officer Ryan Hale and Dustin Thompson, along with like 5 other jurisdictions. That's right, Bonnie. Shout out to all fighting for justice. It's good people. It's good versus evil. You're exactly right. And we're going to talk about more of it. I've got lots of it. So this all happens. And all of a sudden, they start opening fire on Jimmy Lee. But the rounds aren't coming from the front. They're coming from the back. They shoot Jimmy Lee Howard 6 times. And from one of the deputies who has been providing a little bit of background, he said there were gunshots, and then there was a pause, and then there was one more. And it matches up with the autopsy. Jimmy Lee was shot 5 times all over the back. And then they went and they executed him and shot him in the back of the head. That's exactly what happened. When you read the autopsy, that's what adds up. This is a murder. There's no other way to describe this. It's a murder. And they've been trying to pretend like that this case has been open this whole time. But they've closed it. They closed it a while ago. And they never, if Jimmy Lee's mom hadn't kept pushing it, they would have wiped this under the rug. But she's not. And now other investigators are looking at it. There's potential sheriff's candidates that want to look at it. You've got all these people are going, "Hey, hang in there. Hang in there." And we'll get it. We'll make this right. I mean, you can't bring Jimmy Lee back. Look, the amount of stories that I've heard about this man, about the kindness that he constantly gave to people and never asked for anything in return. He was your ultimate citizen of Eastern Kentucky. If you could imagine the greatest of the great of Eastern Kentucky, that's Jimmy Lee Howard. and they murdered him. So there are some relations between some of these officers and the sheriff, and so but I'm still putting that web together. So there's still more digging to be done. Bonnie, they're not going to get away with it for much longer. I just have this feeling that this whole thing's going to come crashing down on them pretty soon. I've been hearing some stuff. Yes, he was shot while the police were there. Mind you, there was no warrant. They had no warrant, nothing. They went up behind the property and killed him from behind. So that's a case we're still working on. I'm going to be working with his mom and following all the leads that we can dig up on that. Well, Bonnie, we need to continue to support these families, and that's going to be the most important thing, especially, eventually they've got to tell us what happened with Doug Harless too. That's got to happen at some point. The community's not going to rest until that happens. So we've got to keep the spirits of these families lifted and keep pushing forward. So next on the agenda, so I've been working in Grayson County a lot lately, and I'm still everywhere. I keep my eyes peeled on all of the areas that I've been in, just in case something happens. And there's always something happening there in the other areas. But I covered 2 missing people cases. One was Savannah Crawford. She was a young lady, and she was a high school kid. She went out walking. I guess she liked to walk in Litchfield, Kentucky a lot. She went out and did her normal walk and never came home. Now, I'm getting some very, very, very good leads on what happened. I'm pretty sure I know what happened to this young lady. I just need to confirm a few things. It's worse than what you could think. So that's one we're working on. Then there's another one, Melvia Rourke's, who she just disappeared one day. And yeah, I think you have a pretty good idea as well, Jessica. So Miss Rourke's, she went down to the store about 4 miles down from her house and never came home. And then they found her van about 70 miles away. So I'm still working on that one. I've got a couple theories, but nothing solid yet. So I'm going to keep digging on those and see if we can come up with something that will let us know what happened. This one's kind of like a question mark for me right now. So there's 2 confirmed murders that I've been working on, Timothy Higdon and Jason Early. We pretty much know what happened in both of those cases. But the problem is there's been no accountability in either one of the cases. The shooters are still actively out there. So we're working to compile more information, or I am, to see what we can do with that one. I also covered a case in Owensboro involving Robin Lewis Slaughter. This one's starting to become one of those, I'm going to say this is one of those 2020 episodes, or was my sister-in-law calls it murder porn, because she watches the Investigative Discovery Channel 24 hours a day. But Robin Lewis Slaughter, he worked for the city, and he just disappeared one day. Nope, without a trace. Nobody knew nothing. Now, I pay attention to the comments in every video that I make. I read every single message. Because if I don't, that'll be the message I miss that could crack a case. Now, there's some mysterious things being said in the comments of this case that I've been taking note of. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they're there. And So I feel like somebody's telling me to stop looking. And then I feel like somebody else is saying, I know what happened. So I'm going to be digging into that. So the comments, they always give it away. Somebody's always trying to hit me in some direction in the comments all the time. I got your message. So we're going to talk about retaliation to finish up the show. I got about 10 more minutes left. We're going to talk about it. So when I'm looking at, I get retaliated against all the time. It's nothing new. It happens every day. Now I'm going to go through the counties and we're going to talk about the retaliatory methods that are being used right now. In Grayson County, I've already been quasi-attacked by a KSP officer's wife. That's fine. I got something for her. Pike County, Paul Coleman is running around harassing and threatening everybody. So that's his retaliatory method. I've also been threatened with Hal Rogers. Hal Rogers' boys will get me. That's what I was told. And for those of you who don't know, Hal Rogers is a United States House of Representative. I would love for that to happen. That you're gonna make me TikTok famous for sure. I'm not scared of Hal Rogers. He's 1,000 years old. And he's getting ready to get beaten. He's about to get primaried and get beat. So he needs to go retire and go sit on Bora Bora or something. But I've had people threaten me with him. Hal Rogers' boys are going to get you. Whoop-de-doo. I've been threatened with Judge Robbie Wright in Pike County. Robbie Wright, and his fixer. What's his fixer's name? Brian Daniels. Brian Daniels, his fixer. Brian Daniels is going to come see you. Well, Brian Daniels ain't seeing shit. Then Laurel County. So this is currently happening in Laurel County. I'm so disgusted with what is happening to people in Laurel County right now. They've escalated, and it's getting out of hand. And in Laurel County, I had somebody tell me they were going to shoot me in the face from Laurel County, an anonymous person, naturally. And then I've been threatened by the Weddle family. The Weddle family's threatened everybody else, or has defamed everybody else, or harassed everybody else, whatever you want to call it. They do it. The city council, Donna Gale House. So I've been paying attention to her a lot lately because I can tell by what she posts, she's getting frustrated. And she is the owner of the hopefully future mayor of London, Kentucky, Snowball the cat. And we all love Snowball the cat. Very, very mayorish characteristics, if I've ever seen a mayor candidate. But she's being like basically gang stalked by a dude named Jason O'Bannon, who is a fired KSP officer from back in the day, went to prison, which it's not that big of a deal, but the guy's a criminal, and he's constantly harassing Donna Gale House. Then you have James Jones, one of Weddle's top flunkies. This dude made up this whole big story. That's right, Bonnie, Snowball for mayor 2026. That's who we're voting for. But James Jones made up this big story about how Donna Gale House followed him all over Kroger and was making videos of him. And so Donna stood up for herself. She said, "You are an absolute liar. I was behind you in line." And so he was trying to make this into something, and it didn't work because he got called out. Now, we can't forget the infamous speech where Randall Weddle says, "Well, you know, the people working in the shadows, well, we're going to deal with this outside of court." Okay, we know what you're saying, bro. You're right, Rick. Rick and Bonnie are my two Laurel County soldiers. They've been standing in there in the fire there too. So y'all keep it. This is going to conclude eventually. There's going to be a conclusion eventually. It's not going to be like this forever. And then let's go to Martin County. Martin County, where Jimmy Lee Howard's mom is getting messages from an unknown Facebook account saying all kinds of nasty things to her, trying to get her to quit. These people haven't realized that they've struck a nerve with the real heart of Kentucky. Now, I don't know everything there is to know about Kentucky, but I've talked to thousands of people, and I can tell you who the real people are and who the fake people are. And they've been attacking all these people they've been attacking the heart and soul of Kentucky this whole time. And now they're going to find out what that looks like, because those people have had it. They're done. And they pushed it. The elites have pushed it too far. So we're going to see what's going to happen. We're fighting back. Everybody's fighting back, and I like that. So with that said, I'm going to go down through my list of accomplishments since I've been here, or a conglomerative. A lot of people have contributed to the success of the Expendable Show. And so everybody take your bow as well. So we were able to get Randall Weddle impeached, although he didn't win the appeal. There may or may not be an FBI presence in London. In Paris, we got Police Chief Myron Thomas to resign, or to go into retirement. We also have just recently got City Councilman Tim Gray forced into retirement, or into resignation. In Pike County, we were able to get Judge Eddie Coleman recused from the Chad Blackburn case. That was a big one when it happened. Then recently, Judge Executive Ray Jones announced he is not running for office again. Police Chief Claude Hudson was investigated in Boonesville for sexual assault. Although we now know that the mayor is very well adept to covering that up, and that battle's not over. I'm still heading in that direction. Now, I want to talk about something that happened, and I know a lot of you that are on TikTok have probably seen this. There is a lawyer in Louisville that fights the good fight, mainly in family court, but she's versed in everything. She's a friend of mine. I consider her a friend. She's very intelligent, and I support everything that she does. But they invited her to the corruption show, and not in a good way. She was sitting at home watching TV, and they came to her house and arrested her. This was on November 11th on bogus charges. They charged her with no registration plates on her car. They charged her with public intoxication, first and second offense. They charged her with disorderly conduct in the second degree. They charged her with fleeing, evading police in the third degree. Like what? Like I said, she was at home at the time. They went to her house and did all this to her. They gave her no bond. On these charges, she should have got a bond. They didn't give her a bond. She had to wait till a court hearing. Yeah, make that make sense. But her name's Christine Miller. And she has a very, very rapidly growing TikTok presence and podcast where this is why she's targeted. She sits in family court in Louisville and points out all the corruption that happens. And she watches the recordings. It's like her and her partner, and I can never remember his name, but he's very intelligent too. They'll sit through and they'll watch like a court hearing, and they'll dissect it. And they'll say, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And they call out these judges when they do something that's unethical. And these judges are getting pissed off. And so this is called lawfare. And so I'm going to be interviewing Victor Hill again this week, and I don't know what day it is, but we're going to talk about lawfare again. And this is exactly what he's talking about. And lawfare is not just exclusive to large cities. It's exclusive to what we see in these small communities. So this is a huge, huge ordeal that affects every single county in America. If we don't fix lawfare, no one's going to sleep well at night. No one's going to feel safe. And we've got to fix that, because the bad part about it is there's a lot of really good cops out there. There's a lot of really good judges out there. There's a lot of really good lawyers out there and prosecutors, but there's a lot of really bad ones too. And we've got to get that fixed. There's got to be a method, something we can do, an extra oversight that's not investigating their own people, because that's where the problem is. Bonnie, it was Christine Miller, the lawyer that does the judgy TikTok. So that's where we're at, and we're going to keep working on these cases. I'm going to be back in Grayson County this week a lot, so I'm going to keep an eye on some of these other things. I may make some videos about Laurel County and call out some of these people just to see if I can get them to come after me. But yeah, it's probably called entrapment, but you know what? I don't play by the rules. Everybody knows that. But that's all I got for today. Everybody be safe. Say some prayers. Look over your families. I'm out. Peace.